Today I will show you a Western action drama film from 2021, titled Old Henry.
Nadie más tiene que morir. Déjame ir.
Suelta tu funda. Ahora.
¡Hijo de la chingada!
Be ready for spoilers ahead. The movie opens up in 1906 in Oklahoma. An unidentified man is trying to escape from three men wearing sheriff badges. One of the three men then shoots the man in the leg until he can no longer run. The three men are Stillwell, the Mexican who is good at tracking, Dugan, who is arrogant and temperamental, and Ketchum, the most sadistic and inhumane of the three. Ketchum kicks him a couple of times, asking for the location of another man they've been chasing, but the man won't confess. This provokes Ketchum into tying him to a horse and dragging him through the ground until he finally speaks. The man they're looking for has gone east. Then, instead of freeing him, Ketchum kills the injured man. The scene transitions to old Henry McCarty and his teenage son Wyatt working on their farm. Henry grew up in New York and traveled all over before settling down as a farmer in Oklahoma. He lost his wife to tuberculosis 10 years ago, but her brother, Al, comes often to give him a hand and be an uncle to Wyatt. Al owns a farm not far away. After Al went to his home, Henry and Wyatt saw a horse walking alone without a rider. Upon inspection, they discovered bloodstains, suggesting that the horse's owner had sustained injuries and might have fallen. While Wyatt takes the scared animal to the farm, Henry takes his horse to follow the horse's trail to see if the owner is alive or dead. After riding for some distance, Henry eventually finds the body of a man who seems to be the horse's owner. Upon examination, the man turns out to be alive despite a severe gunshot wound. His name is Curry, and he has been shot on the shoulder, so Henry covers the wound with some mud and a handkerchief. Then he finds a gun and a satchel full of money, which tells him there's trouble going on that he doesn't want to be involved in. However, he barely takes a few steps away before he feels bad for the man, so he comes back, picks up all the things, and after getting rid of any proof they'd been there, he takes Curry back to the farm with him. Together with Wyatt, they put Curry on a bed and tend to his wound. Once night falls, Henry takes the gun and the satchel with the money to hide them in a secret compartment in his closet, unaware that Wyatt is spying on him through the space under the door. The following morning, Henry decides to fetch a doctor because the wound won't get better if they don't remove the bullet. But before leaving, he ties Curry to the bed and tells Wyatt to look after him. Once his father is gone, Wyatt goes to Henry's closet to check out the hidden compartment. After seeing the money and the satchel, he grabs the gun and takes it outside to practice shooting at a bottle in the backyard. Back in the house, Curry hears gunshots in his sleep and dreams of the night his house burned and his family was killed. He remembers the killer's words, "Keep your head down, you'll be fine." Henry, on the way to town, discovers Ketchum and his men have been following the trail Curry left behind. Stillwell is such a good tracker that he can tell someone has covered Curry's tracks and escaped. Henry, despite being just an old farmer, skillfully crawls among the reeds to observe Ketchum and his two colleagues' conversation. They hear some noises in the tall grass and shoot, but luckily Henry is already running away before they find him. At home, Wyatt is confused when Curry wakes up. Grabbing the knife from the night table, he jumps on Wyatt and swears he wouldn't like to hurt him, he just wants his satchel back. At that moment, Henry comes back and kicks Curry off his son before punching him until he loses consciousness again. They tie Curry to a chair and wake him up. Henry decides it's too risky to travel to the town for a doctor, so he uses a heated knife to remove the bullet from Curry's wound while simultaneously asking some questions. Wriggling and crying with pain, Curry says he's a lawman and that Henry and Wyatt should leave before it's too late. But before Henry can get the answers to his questions, Ketchum and his men appear outside the house. Henry goes to grab Curry's gun and smells it's already been shot, so he reloads it before going outside. Ketchum introduces himself as a sheriff and his partners as his deputies. He explains that they are looking for Curry, a dangerous criminal and killer who is pretending to be a sheriff. Curious about Henry, Ketchum begins asking him some questions about his personal life, taking a special interest when he hears his name as McCarty because there was a criminal many years ago with that same last name. Henry tells them he has no family, so it can't be a relative of his, and he hasn't seen anyone fitting Curry's description either. He claimed he was just an ordinary farmer who didn't want to get into trouble. Ketchum and his two colleagues left without any tension or commotion. Henry goes back to the house and slaps Wyatt for having used the gun. Wyatt only wanted to know what it feels like because he's the only boy in the area that was never taught to fire a weapon, so he had to teach himself. Henry slaps him again for it, so Wyatt insults him and calls him worthless, claiming Henry will be left alone to die because he'll leave the farm as soon as he's able. Ketchum and his two colleagues rested in the area while discussing the old farmer. According to Ketchum, Henry held the gun unusually, unlike a typical farmer. They realized Henry had lied, and Curry was deliberately hidden in the house. As a result, Dugan is tasked with observing Henry's house and is warned not to act rashly. As they are waiting for hired guns to help capture Curry, they decide to pay Al a visit. Back at the house, Henry interrogates Curry again. Curry clarifies that he is the genuine sheriff from New Mexico, and the trio are bank robbers who took the badges from Curry's deputies after killing them. He managed to recover the money but was hurt in the process, so he passed out and fell from his horse while escaping, only to wake up here on the farm later. Why Ketchum didn't shoot Henry is a mystery to Curry, but he's sure they'll be back. Henry is surprised to hear that Curry was born in the New Mexico area, precisely in a village called Fort Sumner. The village is known for being the site where the famous outlaw Billy the Kid was killed. Billy the Kid killed around 27 people in Lincoln County for no apparent reason, and no other murders have occurred since Billy's death. Interestingly, Curry was a living witness to Billy the Kid's death. The nightmare Curry had was a flash from his past, as he saw with his own eyes how Billy the Kid was shot in the chest, which ended the history of America's most famous cowboy bandit. Night falls, and Henry makes Wyatt go inside before he finishes his farm chores because it's too dangerous to stay out this late. Suddenly, Dugan begins shooting at them through the window. Curry shoots back, and Wyatt comes to see what's going on, getting a bullet grazing his arm in the process. Still in pain from his wound, Curry passes out, so Henry grabs his gun as Dugan sneaks underneath the house, shooting through the floor every time Henry moves. Henry hands over the gun to his son, providing him with some shooting tips, and then tosses a book onto the floor, deceiving Dugan into firing in that direction while he runs in the opposite direction. Henry grabs his rifle, steps outside, and starts firing under the house, forcing Dugan to run out and take a bullet to his leg. Without hesitation, Henry kills Dugan by drowning his head in a puddle of wet soil, then throws his body into the barn to be eaten by his pet pigs. The next morning, Ketchum and Stillwell went to A.L.'s farm, where their goal was to find out who Henry really was. When A.L. refuses to open up, they beat him unconscious. Meanwhile, Henry takes care of Wyatt's wound while dodging his son's questions about his past. Wyatt feels his father doesn't respect him, and Henry can't expect to be respected in return. Curry advises Henry and Wyatt not to interfere, fully aware that Ketchum will do whatever it takes to find him. Especially after learning that Dugan is dead, Ketchum will slaughter them all. He asks them to leave immediately and let him handle his problems. Just before leaving, Henry and Wyatt were surprised by Ketchum's presence. He brings an army of cowboys to finish the mission. Stillwell also appears with Al, whose face has been battered. Henry gives Wyatt a gun to keep watch while Henry makes a deal with Ketchum and his gang. Ketchum offers them a deal: if they give him Curry, he'll allow them to leave without a scratch. Since Henry refuses to accept, he goes to confront Ketchum, who admits he isn't a sheriff and is dying with curiosity to know who Henry really is, and since neither he nor Al will reveal any secrets, Ketchum kills Al on the spot. This triggers Wyatt into coming out and starting to shoot, so Henry drags him back inside as the gang retaliates, hitting Curry on the leg when he walks near the window. After scolding Wyatt for acting without thinking, Henry tells him to keep his head down, he'll be fine. Hearing these words that match his dream, Curry finally puts two and two together and realizes Henry's real identity is Billy the Kid, the legendary cowboy killer. He didn't die the night of the fire, he just escaped. Henry came out casually with both hands raised. Henry then proved who he really was. His ability to cock a gun in 0.2 seconds results in the elimination of most of Ketchum's troops, leaving only a handful alive. Henry is not only adept at using firearms but can also utilize knives to slaughter them all. Only Ketchum remains. He's hidden behind the pig pen and manages to hurt Henry on the shoulder, so Henry runs into the woods to make Ketchum follow him. Both men hide behind trees as they exchange shots, but Henry is too deadly and manages to hit Ketchum on the leg and shoulder. Henry comes closer and then finishes him for good. The wounds aren't serious though, so as soon as he returns to the farm, Henry goes to Curry to help with his own injuries. When Henry tears off Curry's sleeve to take a better look at his arm, he accidentally finds Curry has the same gang mark Dugan had, and he shoots Henry for seeing it. Actually, Curry didn't lie that he was a lawman. He confesses he was indeed a sheriff, but a corrupt one. He and his deputies had worked with Ketchum before, but they heard Ketchum was planning to kill them during their last job, so Curry tried to escape, and that's how it all started. Curry has been haunted by the shadow of Billy the Kid, who killed his parents. As a law enforcer who thirsts for honor, Curry is desperate to kill Henry because he thinks it is an honor to be able to kill a legend like Billy the Kid. However, Curry's pride is short-lived as Wyatt appears and kills Curry on the spot. Henry asked Wyatt to take good care of himself in his dying moments. If his death spread, there would be gossip about his past, but he advised Wyatt not to believe it. After burying his father's body right next to his mother's grave, Wyatt packs up his things and leaves the farm on his horse to travel as he's always wanted. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this.